outside in the stairwell, we've got a floored tile in challenging conditions. It was a bit of a I shouldn't have done. It actually felt really good. So no. Welcome back, folks, or should I say good morning. It is very early here at Run4Adventure HQ, just gone 6 in the morning, so if I'm looking a little bit rough around the edges, I do apologise, but we're trying to get as much content filmed as possible before Christmas, so this is the only way we could get this video filmed before we go to work. Interesting fact of the video is Agravic, the name of the shoe. I jumped on Google to try and find out what it means, and it means zero gravity, which is quite odd really, because it's actually quite a heavy shoe, but never mind. We are back today with our first impressions on the Adidas trail shoe, and these are some of my favourite videos to film, and just recently we actually uploaded our first impressions on Salomon's exciting S-Lab Cross 2 trail running shoe. If you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth checking out, so I've left a link in the description. So today is a turn of the Terrex Agravic Ultra, another plated mid-soled running shoe new to the market. If you followed the channel for some time, you'll know I'm not fully convinced that we need plates in the midsole of our trail running shoes. I totally understand it when it comes to road racing shoes, race day marathon shoes, but I'm not fully convinced about the whole trail running thing. But let's get stuck into the video. We're going to give you a few facts and figures and a bit of information about how the shoe is constructed, and then we're going to be lacing them up, grabbing our head torches, because I think it's still going to be pretty dark out there, so I have no idea how the filming of this video is going to go, but we'll see what happens. And then we are going to be heading over to the sand dunes of the Hale Towers and giving these their first run. The Agravic Ultra has been designed to handle tough mountainous conditions, and it was developed using the help of some of the best ultra runners in the world. It retails in the UK for £140, but I actually picked this pair up on Black Friday weekend and got them for the bargain price of only £91, so not a bad price for a carbon plated trail running shoe. It weighs in at a pretty hefty 346 grams in a men's UK 10, so a fair bit heavier than I thought it was going to be, and I went for this nice bright colourway option. We all know I love a bold, bright, colourful running shoe, but don't worry, there is some more subtle and more subdued colourways available. Starting with the upper construction first, and Adidas have chosen to use this open mesh material, which has lots of tiny little perforations in it. I don't know whether you can pick that up on camera, and that's to aid with optimum airflow, so keeping your feet nice and cool as you're bobbing along. We've also got some abrasion resistant overlays around the toe box and the lace eyelets, just for a bit of extra durability, but also a bit of added protection when you're out on the trails. When it comes to padding in the tongue and around the ankle collar, it's pretty minimal, so we've got quite a thin tongue, and I can't believe the tongue isn't gusseted in that upper. Quite shocked about that, and going to be really interesting to see how that performs and what the midfoot lockdown is. And again, that tongue being thin, sometimes I don't get on with that in a trail running shoe, so it's going to be interesting to see. And speaking of that ankle collar and heel, since buying the shoe, I've had quite a few viewers saying that they really struggle with it being just too stiff around there, and that caused them quite a few issues. And to be fair, I've got to agree with them. The shoe does feel very, very stiff around that ankle collar. But I've also had quite a few viewers saying once they've broken the shoe in, they've actually really enjoyed running in it. So it could just be one of them shoes that takes a bit of time to soften up and to bed in. Moving down to the midsole, and we've got quite a lot of things going on there. So Adidas have chosen to go for a sort of dual compound midsole. So we've got some of their old school Boost compound, but that's been paired up with their later ultra lightweight light strike cushioning, and that's developed to try and ensure a high energy returning but comfortable ride. Like I said earlier, the midsole is plated, but it's not your standard sort of industry carbon plate. It's actually a TPE bio-based plate, and that's been made out of 90% renewable carbon. It runs the entire length of the shoe to give you some nice lightweight propulsion, but it also doubles up as a rock plate, just to give you a bit more underfoot protection, even in the most technical areas. Finishing off, and we've got this really funky looking outsole on the shoe. Love the colours they've used here, but it does make it quite hard to see the lugs on that outsole. Don't worry, there is some there. They're actually 5mm in depth and quite aggressive looking, and they look very similar to the outsole you'd find on a Peregrine 10 or a Peregrine 11, which is never a bad thing. Those lugs have been coated in Continental rubber, and yep, that is the same guys that make the bike tyres and car tyres, so they should know a thing or two about producing sticky rubber. So I got high hopes for this outsole. So there you have it, some details about the Terrex Agravic from Adidas. I put the shoe on just to check it for size, walked around the living room, and it actually felt pretty good underfoot. Do have a few concerns, one being the weight, two being how rigid that midsole, and three being how stiff the fabric is, especially around that ankle collar. Not sure how this first outing's going to go, but I'm not going to write the shoe off yet. The cameras are charged, I've got my kit laid out, and we've got our head torches. So let's go and get ready, and let's take these out for their first run. Right, so we are 1.2 miles into the run, and first thing is, can't believe how dark it is. It's what, just gone 7 o'clock in the morning. I thought it might be a bit lighter than this, so sorry if you can't see a lot of footage, but we're just about to head out onto the Town. So we've done a bit of hard standing, we've run through the park. So far, the midsole cushioning, that combination of boost compound and light strike, actually feels pretty nice underfoot, and really liking the shape and the support of the shoe under my instep. It feels really good, but definitely, like a lot of you guys have said in the comments, the upper does feel a bit stiff around that ankle where those lace eyelets are. Does feel a bit stiff, but I'm sure that'll soften up over time, and it's not actually as bad as I thought it was going to be. So what I'm planning to do, we're going to head out to the Towns, we're going to run for a couple of miles. Hopefully it'll be a bit brighter by then. The sky is starting to look a bit brighter, so let's get out on the Towns, get a couple more miles in, and we'll be back soon. Love starting a run in the darkness and running into light. Such a cool way of starting the day. So we've done just over 3 miles now. We've run across the front of the Town, so lots of soft sand to deal with, lots of ups and downs to deal with, and the traction on that outsole felt really good. I don't think we're gonna encounter any mud on today's run. It's always pretty dry out here all year round on the Towns, but great on the soft sand. I've also got to say it, guys, great feedback, so really good reviewing. You were right about that stiff ankle collar and the upper, that it's gonna take a bit of bedding in, that's for sure. We're gonna be doing about 10K today, so it should be all right for that, but I didn't have any problems with it when I was on the flat terrain, but as soon as I picked up that uneven ground, I could kind of feel that ankle collar digging into my ankle bone, which hasn't been that comfortable if I'm honest, but it's one of those things that will definitely bed in over time. So we've got another 3 miles to do, so let's get on, let's get running, and let's see how it goes from here. That was hard work. We are ticking off the miles, so we've just gone past about 4.5, and the sun is definitely up now, and it is dog walker time out on the Towns. Unfortunately, it's one of them things we have to deal with out here. I'm a massive dog lover, but quite often out here running, dog walkers not really paying attention, and I've been bitten several times. Obviously not the dog's fault, just owners not paying attention to their pets, but it can get pretty frustrating, so I try to avoid them now. So I think I'm gonna make a beeline for home. Like I said, we're coming up to 5 miles, so the run's nearly done. But yeah, actually quite enjoying the shoe, to be fair. Right, let's get these last few miles done and then we'll get home for a shower. So that is 6 miles done. It's going to be 10k by the time I get home, but time has caught up with us. But really enjoying the midsole on the shoe, liking that combination between boost and like strike compound. It actually feels a lot better underfoot than I thought it would. It seems to line up, like I said earlier, with my foot shape really well, giving me really good shape and support under my instep, which I really like. But I have to say it, my ankles do feel a little bit sore, and I probably wouldn't want to run much further than 10k on its first outing. But like I said, time's caught up, so we're going to head home, have a shower, and then we've got to get off to work. So we'll be back this evening with a more detailed review on how the shoe has performed out on its first outing. But we'll see you guys after work. That's another 7 miles in the legs on the road to recovery, so things are definitely heading in the right direction. And it's been a long time since I started a run with a head torch on my head and run until the sun came up, and I'd forgotten what an amazing experience that is. We've had a great day in store today, lots of people in buying gifts for Christmas, but also lots of customers coming in, getting their kit list ready for the arc of attrition that is rapidly approaching down here in Cornwall early next year. So let's discuss how we feel the first run out in the Terrex Agravic Ultra went. And the first thing I really need to say is it definitely ran a lot better than I thought it would. After hearing a lot of sort of negative feedback about the shoe, once it had arrived at Run4Adventure HQ, feeling how stiff that midsole felt and sticking on the scales and it weighing 346 grams, I must be honest, I thought it was going to be terrible. So it's a perfect example of we should never judge a book by its cover. Yes, that upper is pretty stiff around the ankle collar, and I could really feel it on some of the more technical sections that I ran. So I got my fingers tightly crossed that it is going to soften up with time. Like a lot of you guys have said, it just takes a bit longer to bed that upper in. If it doesn't, I can't really see myself doing long efforts in this shoe, because I'm sure that stiffness would cause me some ankle irritation on longer runs. But the rest of the upper felt pretty good. So nice and locked into the heel, nicely fitted around that midfoot, and I had my reservations about that thin tongue and the fact that it wasn't gusseted in the upper, but again, felt pretty comfortable. So the laces didn't pull through that tongue, and I had no slippage or sliding around within the upper. So just a nice fitting shoe. When it comes down to the weight of the shoe, I would like to see it a little bit lighter, maybe closer to 300 grams. At the end of the day, 346 grams is quite heavy for a men's UK 10. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't feel heavy when you're out there running in it, but a slight bit of weight reduction I think would make the shoe perform better. I do love it how a lot of these brands will use the weight in the name of the shoe, or they'll print it on the shoe. So the Agravic's got 299 on the toe box. That's obviously 299 grams, and that's probably a men's UK 8.5. Obviously, all the other sizes of shoes are going to weigh completely different to that. So I really don't know why they do that, and I think it can be a bit misleading. I think the biggest shock in a good way was how well this midsole performed out on the run. So we got quite a high stack height on the shoe, but you are slightly sunk into that midsole at the midfoot, and we got that combination of boost compound and light strike for the cushioning. So it feels comfortable, but it's not over soft. You don't feel to the point where you're sinking into that midsole. So what that gives you, again, is a nice level of comfort, but you still feel nice and connected and stable when you're out on the trails. I think having that addition of boost compound under your forefoot gives it a nice little bit of pop, a nice little bit of spring on toe off, especially when you pick up the pace. And the shoe ran very comfortable on the short sections of tarmac. I mentioned it when we were out on the run, and the instep of the shoe and the height of that instep seems to line up really well with my foot. So the shoe feels very supportive under the arch, and it feels like it would offer me a lot of stability as I started to fatigue, say on a long training run or in a long race. And lastly, if I sit here and try and flex the shoe, it really is quite stiff and rigid at the midfoot. But the clever bit is when you lace them up and get running in it, the shoe actually feels pretty flexible, and a lot more flexible than I thought it was going to feel, having that TPE bio-based plate in it. And this is just its first run, so I'm sure that will flex up a bit over time with more miles in the shoe. So when it comes down to midsole performance, it's been a pleasant surprise. Moving down to the all-important outsole, and like I thought, this Continental rubber was super sticky, and in fact it was so sticky that when I left the flat out in the stairwell, we've got a tiled floor, and as I made my way down the stairs, the shoe made a right racket because it sounded like this rubber was sticking to the floor. But out on the run, gripped the tarmac really well, gripped the rocky areas really good too. It was very dry out in today's run, so it'd be really interesting to test that out on wet rock and wet tarmac to see how it performs. As far as traction goes, that was pretty good too. Obviously a lot of soft sand to deal with on this morning's run out on the Towers. We had a few short sections of mud, but nothing seriously boggy. So we're definitely going to be giving this outsole a thorough testing in muddy conditions to see how it handles that over the next couple of weeks, and then we'll be back with a full in-depth review on the Adidas Terrex shoe. So all in all, a pretty good first run in the Adidas shoe, and way more positive than I was expecting. But, and we know it is a big but, if that ankle collar doesn't soften up at all, then I can't really see myself doing any long runs in the shoe. And that would be slightly ridiculous when you think we're talking about a shoe with the word Ultra in the name of it. But fingers are tightly crossed, so if that does soften up, I think I'll actually enjoy running in it. So there you have it guys, our first impressions on the Adidas Terrex Agravic Ultra, a trail running shoe that's been designed for handling long distances in challenging conditions. Really hope you liked the video, really hope you found it helpful. It was a bit of a last minute decision. When I saw the shoes really heavily discounted on Black Friday, I grabbed a pair, and I'm kind of happy I did now. It's also been good to squeeze in another first impressions trail running shoe video before the end of the year. I've left links in the description if you want to find out any more info, but also don't forget to get entered in the Run4Adventure giveaway extravaganza. It's the biggest giveaway we've ever done on the channel, and the brands have been so supportive, and we got some amazing running goodies up for grabs. I've left all the details in the description below on how to enter, but you have to be quick because the closing date is the 23rd of December, so you haven't got long. So go along, get in the mix guys, but thanks for watching, it's really appreciated. We'll see you back here very soon, and as always, stay safe and keep on running.